Hey everybody, welcome to another video on IELTS. In today's video, we're going to talk about why doing the CD or computer-based IELTS test is so much more easier than doing a paper-based IELTS test. These are my experiences of actually doing the test through the British Council, and I'll talk about the disadvantages first, and then I'll look at the advantages and look at some sort of insider secrets as to why the CD IELTS test is so much more easier to do. Now, I've already made a previous video talking about the differences between doing the CD or computer-based IELTS test versus the paper-based test. So if you want to know about which is better, I'd suggest you go check out that video first and before going on to this video, because here we're only going to be talking purely about the CD IELTS test. So let's find out. Okay, so let's start with some insider tips first. And one thing for me was using the tab button, and that's the button that you find on the keyboard. Using the tab button is extremely helpful when it comes to listening and reading, because it lets you skip directly from one blank answer box to another answer box on your screen. So instead of using the mouse to click on each box, you can just hit tab. Now, if you want to go back one space, all you need to do is press shift and tab, and you go back one space. It helps you a lot, so much in saving time. And you probably think it's a simple thing, and it is actually. But when you do a lot of questions over a period of time that is in listening and reading over an hour and 30 minutes, it makes a lot of difference. So use that tab button, people. Here's an example of a writing task, and in this screen you can see that there's a question on the left and a place where you can edit your answer on the right. And if you're a person like me who likes editing, it's so much easier to do on the computer-based IELTS test. Saves you not using your eraser, and just keep editing on the flow. Copying and pasting is allowed in writing, so you can move the words or the sentences that you have written around. Now use your Control plus C to copy, and Control and V on your keyboard to paste. Again, two shortcuts that make your life a bit more easier. There's also a word counter in the writing task, so you know not to write too much or too less. And in case you didn't know, writing task 1, you have a minimum of 150 words, and for writing task 2, you have a minimum of 250 words to write. And please remember this: if you write below the required word count, you will lose marks. So the word count on the screen helps you keep a good track of the number of words you write. It's a live counter, so every word that you write is directly recorded on the word count. There's also a clock on the top middle of the screen that lets you know the amount of time remaining. You'll also be provided with some paper for writing down any rough notes should you want to. In my test, there were very few numbers of test takers, so there were just less chances of distraction, less noise, and the test went on smoothly, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. The keyboard was pretty difficult for me to type on, and also one thing was it was difficult to type when you're listening. So I guess here the advice is to learn to touch type, that is to type without looking at the keyboard. Now, I've never done a touch type course, but I've just been practicing as much as possible. So you don't have to look at the keyboard each time, and that will sort of help you with time. You've probably also now figured that your keyboard typing skills need to be good. There's tons of websites that can teach you this. And you don't actually have to go to a sort of a training center or anything. Just Google them, you'll find a lot of it. Just type in keyboard writing courses. I learned mostly by practice. I'm not perfect like a receptionist or anything, but good enough for a test at least. Okay, so one thing is clear was there's actually no breaks between the listening, reading, and the writing sections. In paper-based, you do get a bit of a break when they sort of distribute papers, and that sort of adds up to a break. But in the computer-based IELTS test, the test moves so quickly. I mean, if you're the person who doesn't like to be kept waiting, and who does, this is the test, because I found it very helpful that they moved on so quickly. And that's my experience from the CD test. If you've learned something in this video, smash that like button and sub to the channel. Bye for now, folks.